So the early starters are working their way in. They've completed this 20.6 kilometre individual time trial course. At the moment, the times we're getting in, Steve Cummings has set the early best. BMC rider, 47 minutes and 8 seconds. Thomas Decker of Garmin, a minute and a half slower. And Alex Dowsett of the Movistar squad, who won that first individual time trial, 7th fastest at the moment, 2 minutes and 48 seconds. This not the kind of time trial that suits him. There's the provisional standings on your screen. Miguel Minguez, 3rd fastest at the moment, Brian Bulgak and the rest, although we're going to see radical alteration to the timesheets as we get closer to the general classification contenders. Sean Kelly is alongside, and this is a very different beast to the Stage 8 time trial, Sean, and we're going to see different riders to the fore at the conclusion of the day.
Well, it will be interesting to see who's going to be the strongest. It looks like that the general classification men will be the men up there taking the honours of the stage victory, because when you look down through the list, a lot of the riders that are left in the race, they're not really going to contest this stage, because time trialling is not a strong point. A hill time trial is less of a strong point for many riders, so I think it will come from one of the general classification men, although we did see the first time trial, Stage 8, where Alex Dowsett won a real good time trial. I'm not sure if we'll see that way today. I think it will be more of the strong men up in front. And when you look at the general classification, there's a lot to fight for here, and it's going to be, looks like a battle between the top 4 or 5 men for me in that overall classification. Will be fighting it out for the stage victory.
Well, if you are looking for a left field contender, we just had him on screen there. Frederick Kessiakoff won the final time trial in the Vuelta last year, 5th in the world's time trial. He's a good tester. He goes reasonably well up a hill as well, and well down in general classification, supporting Vincenzo Nibali. And may have a weather eye on the big mountain stages to come, and whether riders want to go really, really deep remains to be seen. But Kessiakoff could be a man to put it up to the general classification contenders. Mark Cavendish slugging up the hill. There are points on offer for this stage, of course, but Cavendish, this is not his forte, this is not his speciality. This is just a stage to be got through, and he'll save the legs as best he can. He's got 2 big, tough days in the mountains to survive, and on the back of that, he's almost certainly going to have to come up with some decent points in Brescia. That's always assuming that Cadel Evans manages to score well in the next couple of days. The points classification has engaged us greatly over the last few days, and it's turning into a titanic scrap between those two riders. So Patrick Grech is a fine tester, and we've seen lots of him in this Giro d'Italia. He's done wonders for his reputation with lots of attacking riding, and been up the road quite a bit. He is a good tester, but this might not be the sort of time trial that would suit him. Grech finished 6th in the final time trial in last year's Tour de France, 53.5 kilometres to sharp, but that was a completely different type of test. Rolling roads then, no real climb. I mean, looking at the course, Sean, can we have, how do you assess it? Is this a mountain time trial, or is it a little bit less than that?
I think it's a mountain time trial. You start off and it kicks up pretty much immediately after the finish. There's a little section of, around a kilometre 300 where you can just get into the rhythm, and then you get onto the climb. And after about 9 kilometres it eases off a bit and it goes down, and then it kicks up again. There's another bit after about 12 kilometres, so there's a little bit of rest in the middle of it, but in time trial there is no rest, because on that flat section and where it starts to go down, you have to really push on, keep it, giving it 100%, and then it kicks up all the way to the finish. So 20.6 kilometres. Time trialing is all about being in the right frame of mind, being focused and pushing yourself to the limit. suffering big time. That's what it's all about. And
it's a particular ability, isn't it, to live at 90-95% of your absolute maximum and spend vast amounts of time there.
Yes, live at the maximum. That's what is the perfect words to explain what it's about. And when you're on a good day and you're really focused, you can live at on the maximum all the time. You can't suffer, and that's what it's about. A lot of suffering in time trial, and when you're really focused and you're really up for it, then you can suffer. But if you're not really in the race, you feel you're not good in a mountain time trial, you've nothing to get out of the race by going hard in the time trial. There's so many of the riders in that situation here today.
Navrauskas, Lithuanian time trial champion, and a man who was a little bit embarrassed, but wonderful performance yesterday with his second position. He thought that it was for the stage win, his sprint from the GC group, but it much to his horror he discovered that Giovanni Visconti was already up the road and finished. Here's an important part of Mark Cavendish's backup crew, Gianluca Brambilla. We've seen him in this race toiling away on the front for hour after hour, chasing down the breakaway group, often on his own, doing long turns. And again, this is going to be a test for him to get through, but he's done wonders for Amiga Pharma Quickstep, and he's one of the riders that Cavendish has been so quick to pay tribute to. Often it's the lead-out men that get an awful lot of the star kudos, but the riders that sit on the front for hour after hour, controlling the gap to the break, well, they also deserve the champagne at the end. Thanks to at Dave number 7. Apparently Fredrik Kesikov is complaining of not feeling well. He's on antibiotics and is looking for an easy day. So in that case, we may strike him off our list as of possible contenders. Graham Kidd is asking, does this individual time trial have bonification? So no, there's no time bonuses in the time trials. Every other stage, which makes it a little bit unusual compared to other stage races, but every other stage has 20, 12 and 8 seconds on the line at the completion. Steve Cummings, 47 minutes and 8 seconds is the target. Navrauskas has led in the GC group the last 2 days. Finished 4th 2 days ago, 2nd yesterday. And clearly on absolutely stonking form. 85th overall. And as you can see by the fact that he's wearing the Lithuanian national champion time trials jersey, that he is a man who likes it. He likes the solo test. This stage is starting in the recently renovated velodrome in Mori. It's a 500 meters outdoor velodrome. They do half a lap. Well, half a lap of the warm-up track on the inside. They don't go onto the banking. Gorka Verdugo. Another man who's shown the jersey. He was up the road a few days ago. A man from Euskaltel. And equipment, the equipment chosen by the riders. So far we've seen most of the riders have gone for a regular road bike, Sean. I suppose saving weight is the primary consideration.
Yeah, yes, it is the consideration, saving weight, but also mountain time trial. The special TT bikes, they're not comfortable to do that sort of time trial, and it's very much road bike we're seeing coming in. And as we start to the bottom of the climb, just a kilometre flat, well then I think we would see everybody on the normal bikes today. I'd be very surprised if we see anybody going for a time trial bike, because it doesn't suit, this route doesn't suit at all for that.
Salvatore Puccio spent a day in pink at the beginning of this race in his first Giro d'Italia, and in the lead group yesterday, so good performance from him. So Salvatore Puccio has 2 big days coming, but he's got this time trial to get through. And Lessig, at G111LES says, please stop describing them as testers. Non-cyclists won't know what it means, and it's a demeaning term used by roadies. I never thought of it as a demeaning term. Apologies if it is. I always thought tester was just was a word to describe their speciality. Apologies if that was the way that was taken up, but time trial specialists, they certainly are. Navradouskas is one of those, not from the absolute top tier of time trial specialists, but a pretty good one nonetheless. And coming from low down on general classification, it'll be interesting to see how motivated he is for this time trial and whether he can set a benchmark time for the GC guys to chase a little bit later in the starting order. Just to give you some times, 16:33 is the departure time for Vincenzo Nibali. That's 16:33 CET, 15:33 if you're in the GMT region. And the final 15 riders in the time trial will be running at 3-minute gaps. Filippo Pasado working his way towards the line. So Cadel Evans goes at 16:30. Oran Scarponi, most of the most motivated riders, of course, are in the top 10. And if we're looking for left fielders, well, he's not really a left fielder, but Tanel Kangert, who has been doing absolutely Trojan work for Vincenzo Nibali and is still strong enough to stay with the group in the highest of mountains right to the finish. He was third in that first time trial. Very different sort of test, of course, but he could be a man to look out for. He's off at 4 o'clock CET. And plenty of support for Filippo Pasado. Obviously still a very popular figure in this part of Italy. And we haven't seen a whole lot from Pasado, have we, in this year's Giro, Sean? He was up in the Gallop a couple of days ago, but he hasn't really managed to get in amongst them. And I suppose there just haven't been that many opportunities for him.
Well, if you look at the stages like yesterday, you could say that should be an opportunity for him. He was there yesterday in that group that came in after Visconti, but he hasn't been riding anything like what you'd expect him to be. And for me, it's a disappointing Giro. He should be in some of the breakaways. He should be able to contest more in the final. As we see Visconti doing yesterday, he came out of that group of big favourites, and we should see Pasado being able to do that, but he hasn't been the form that we've seen him of past, and I don't think it's going to look like a good Giro for him when he gets to the finish on Sunday.
Well, the little smile coming across the line suggests that he wasn't exactly going flat out there. As I said, this is just something to be endured, something to be got through. But even for the riders who just merely want to ride through it, they do have to ride at a decent rate. There is a time cut to be got through.
Yes, well, for a 20k time trial, once you ride at 85%, 90%, you have no problem with the time delay. It's such a short one, and you could see there that Pasado, he just, after riding up this hill at a comfortable rate, let's call it, and he's not going to get anything out of it anyway. If he really goes and gives it 100%, he's not going to be in anything near in the top places. But the stages, there were some undulating stages, if you like to call them that, where he should have been out in the breakaway. I don't think he's capable of winning in a sprint, so you have to decide on your tactic, what you're going to do in this race, and go into the breakaways. And if you get into a breakaway, that's what he can do well, because he's good in the sprint against a small group of riders.
Yeah, the time cut-off in time trials, they have different categories depending on, different sorts of stages, whether it's a mountain stage, a medium stage, a flat stage or whatever. But all the time trials, team and individual time trial, the winner's time is increased by 30%. And so if you're within that 30% of the winner's time, then you get to race on the following day. Otherwise, you'd want to have a very good excuse. Puncture, crash, or some exceptional weather circumstance that might have prevented you from finishing inside that 30%. Sometimes the commissars can be appealed to successfully, but not always. Salvatore Puccio. Plenty of questions coming in about the gear setup. It would appear as if pretty much all the early runners have gone for, just as I say it, there you go, Manuele Boaro, 8th in the first time trial, and he's gone for a time trial bike. Most of the riders going for a road bike, perhaps riders as well that aren't taking this terribly seriously, but Manuele Boaro, who went so well in that first individual time trial on stage 8, has gone for a full TT rig. The trade is, of course, that these time trial bikes tend to be a little bit heavier, and on a flat road that's not really that's not terribly critical. But going uphill, well, you're trying to save every gram possible. Plus, the position isn't always absolutely perfect for riding out of the saddle. But Boaro clearly feels that the couple of kilometres to the bottom of the hill, and then those few kilometres in between the two segments of uphill, warrant riding the full time trial bike. He's not able to get into the time trial tuck at this point of the hill, so coming towards the conclusion. 47 minutes and 8 seconds is the target, of course. Yeah, Bridie Jenner also asking why they're not using the time trial bikes. I suppose it's an individual choice, and the word will be coming back from different team riders during the time trial about what the better option is. And of course, all of these riders will have ridden up the hill on at least a couple of occasions today, just to get a feel for it and get a sense of exactly how they need to measure their effort. So
yes, I think it will be an easy decision made, because they have the opportunity to ride up it. It's not that they have to ride 40 kilometres beforehand and then ride up a climb at the end. So everybody will have been up this at least once, and a lot of the riders will be up there up a number of times. So you make the decision yourself very quickly. I think the time trial bike, we see Boaro here on the TT bike, but I don't think we should see a lot of them. We can see some of the riders put on the attachment bars for time trialing, for that little bit of a downhill we have got in here, and I think that we will see quite a lot of it. We see Kobo coming in here.
Okay, the early runners are working their way up to the top of this 20.6 kilometre time trial. Join us as we work our way through this a little bit after these. So stage 18, Mori Topolza, individual time trial, 20.6 kilometres for Christian van der Veld and all the other riders out there. And van der Veld has given it a bit of a go, but he's not managing to better the time of Stephen Cummings, who has set the benchmark to this point. And 47 minutes and 8 seconds was the target. Van der Veld riding all the way to the line, but he's not going to better that time. And the man from Garmin Sharp, currently sitting 108th on general classification, over 2.5 hours behind Vincenzo Nibali. 37 years of age, I do believe. And in the twilight of a distinguished career. Inside the last 250 metres of this purgatory, as he makes his way towards the line. Tweets coming in. Richard Bromley's asking, hey guys, what position would Cadell have to finish to take Cav's points jersey? Well, at the moment he is 4 points in arrears. So to get 5 points, 12th position in this time trial would be enough by my calculations.
Yes, I don't think it's going to change a lot for anybody in today's time trial, although Evans could move up a lot in that classement, and it's going to be over the next 2 days, I think, as well, where that battle will really be for Cadel Evans to get the maximum points, because the final day, of course, Sunday, where Cavendish is pretty much guaranteed to take top points, so it will change a bit.
Would you say that already? You think he's a nailed on certainty to win in Brescia?
Well, I think yes. When you look at the stage, the final stage in Brescia, totally flat. Normally in the early part of the stage of the final day in a big tour, they take it easy in the first 60-80 kilometres, and then the racing is done in that final, and it's 99% that is going to be down to a bunt sprint, and I don't see anybody able to beat Mark Cavendish when it's a straight out bunch sprint, no matter what the situation is. If he has got a lead out train or not, he's shown in this race, all the bunch sprints, he's just been untouchable.
Former winner of Giro d'Italia way back in 2000, Stefano Garzelli. 28th best time to this point. The best time set by Britain's Stephen Cummings of the BMC team, 47 minutes and 8 seconds, 1 minute and 15 seconds faster than Jerome Pino. And we've seen Manuele Boaro has gone third. So now the Polish road race champion Michał Golas launches himself off the ramp, and I would suggest that the way he's launched himself off the ramp, he's probably not going for the big time today. Neil Fry says, I think Sergio Henao could go well today. He's a good time trialer and he's a good climber.
Yes, although we did see Henao yesterday in the final, he was with a number of sprinters. Not a good indication. I think he's starting to suffer also. Tiredness, the weather conditions all taking effect, and when you see him not being able to stay with the big favourites yesterday, I'm a little bit concerned that he can put in a real good TT today.
Kyle Webb's asking if Uran will be using the Pinarello bolide. Not sure, but unlikely, because there really was only one of those in captivity. There wasn't even a spare one for Bradley Wiggins when he punctured in the stage 8 time trial. And of course that bike would have been set up for Wiggins. You'd never know. They may have left it behind, be able to rework it for Uran, but without having used it much to this point, I find it unlikely that he's using anything other than the Graal. And plenty of suggestions as well that the likelihood is that we're going to see lots more TT rigs, full TT rigs, as we get down towards the general classification riders later on in the running. Eros Kopecky has been very prominent in recent days. Dario Cataldo of the Sky squad is clearly very motivated today. He's on a road bike with tri-bar extensions. Steph Clement of the Blanco squad, subject of much speculation in recent days about future sponsorship of that squad. And there appear to be ongoing negotiations with a North American-based electronics firm. And we certainly hope that they do bear fruit and they manage to come up with a sponsor for next year. At the moment, they're financed by the guarantees from Rabobank, who pulled out of sponsorship, of course, at the end of last year. And I do hope that whatever sponsor comes in has colours to match the Blanco ones that are there at the moment, because they look great. And Montauk Rock says, is there an acknowledgement for the rider with the highest aggregate stage finishes at the end of the tour? Well, that's pretty much the points competition. Score points every day, 25, 20, 16, 14, 12, etc. for each stage. There's also a separate competition called the Azzurri Italia for top 3 positions in each stage, and that's pretty much locked out at the moment by Mark Cavendish. He's got 16 points from his 4 stage wins, 4 points for each of those. And Giovanni Visconti, no surprise to see him well up in it. He's got 9 points, still 7 points behind Cavendish. So he'd have to win 2 of the remaining stages, and Cavendish would have to finish out of the placings on the final stage. So I think it's pretty much done for Cavendish to win that. Carlos Betancourt is 3rd in that competition, 7 points, a couple of points behind Visconti. Myriad different competitions, of course, in Giro d'Italia. The overall is being led by Vincenzo Nibali. Let's remind ourselves of the gaps. It's Cadel Evans, 1 minute and 26 seconds in arrears, and needs to chip away at that today. A couple of further opportunities in the next couple of days, but so much talk about the weather and what exactly could that the implications that could have for the stage route design on Friday and Saturday. Cadel Evans 1:26 behind. Rigoberto Urán 2 minutes and 46 seconds in arrears. Scarponi 3:53 behind. It's been a good one for him. He's not going to get to Nibali, would be the expectation, but the podium is on, as Felice Gimondi reminded us just in our build-up to this stage. Niemiec has been a real revelation. When he began Grand Tour racing 2 years ago, he's 33 years of age now. And it came to Grand Tours late, but clearly has some aptitude for it. He was a prolific winner, in fairness, in his all his professional years to that point. But for whatever reason, hadn't had the opportunity to do a 3-week race. Well, clearly he's lasting well. And he's sitting in 5th overall, 4 minutes and 13 seconds behind Nibali. Sant'Ambrogio had his bad day a couple of days ago. He's 4:57 back at the moment. So riders coming in as a group. Of course, this is a time trial. They're not allowed to take pace, but these riders just so happen to have converged on course and are just pedaling through the concluding stages of this time trial. I think they're pretty much together really as a group. Of course, it is uphill, so you don't gain a massive advantage from sitting in the wheel. An interesting news that's come through today, Sean, is that Jim Ochowicz of BMC has confirmed that the performance of Cadel Evans means that he will be a protected rider for the Tour de France. He won't be asked to ride in a supporting role. That's pretty much understandable when you see the way Cadel Evans is riding here. And first of all, I think for the Tours, he would be the man that for the general classification for BMC. So there isn't anything new there from Jim on that one. The way he's performing here is the surprise one, because he hadn't targeted the Giro and it was a late decision to come here. Really riding well, and he's in a position now today, if he can put in a real good time trial, take some time off at Nibali, he can really push him in the final days to come. And he's he can see out there at the end of the tunnel the possibility of winning a Giro. It's there, but unfortunately the man in the pink jersey at the moment is looking so strong and never had any difficulty in any of the difficult stages we've had, but there ain't any guarantee in bike racing of 3 weeks. They can get that at any time, any moment. And I think after the stage today they will be looking and seeing what the possibilities are, but it will depend a lot on Cadel Evans. If he can put in a real good time trial and take 20 or 30 seconds from Nibali, it will really give him a big morale boost, and then we could see him really getting into aggressive mode in the next 2 days in the big mountain stages. Combination of a morale boost, and also perhaps it might sow one or two little seeds of doubt in Vincenzo Nibali's mind, because he's had a very clean run of it so far. He's ridden so strongly uphill and downhill, and indeed on the flat, that he really hasn't looked threatened throughout this race. And since the stage 8 time trial, there's really been nothing to touch him. So Simone Stortoni has done great work for Scarponi and Niemiec during this Giro d'Italia. Eris Kopecky is pushing on. Dario Cataldo, we saw a little while ago, he's riding hard out there, the Italian national time trial champion, clearly very motivated for this test and wants to honour the colours of the Italian time trial champion. He's already caught a couple of minute men. It's all just minute gaps up until the last 15, and then they go to 3 minute gaps. Richard Clark's asking, what is the gear ratio difference between a time trial bike compared to a road bike? Well, there wouldn't be too many. The gear ratios are chosen really for the route that they face, and if it's a flat road the whole way, well, they won't worry about having big dinner plates up the block.
No, on a time trial bike, of course, if it's a pan flat time trial, if there's maybe sections of descent, sometimes they put on a 54 ring. We've seen these 55 rings, and of course The specialist guys who just do time trials all year, they're talking about 56, 57, 58.
Yeah.
You know, back here in Britain, of course,
Michael Hutchinson.
Yes, they put on a lot of very, very big gearing. But in the time trial, with the time trial bike, normally it's, you know, a 54 ring, and then you have a block on the rear which starts at 11 and just goes up. Where on the road bike, depending on the stage, of course, but normally it's, you know, 39, 53, and then you have 11, 25 on the rear.
Yeah, the inside smaller ring on a time trial bike might be just that little bit bigger. There might be less of a difference between them. On the road bike, of course, yeah, 39.53 is the standard setup, and that's probably what most riders are doing. It's a relatively shallow hill by the standards that these riders are capable of. Tom Danielson is pushing hard as he closes down on Ventoso. Now at the start line once more in Mori. Now waiting for the next rider to make his appearance. He seems a little shy. He's not waiting for a full minute up there, that's for sure. And the early standings continue to be dominated by Steve Cummings with his 47 minutes and 8 seconds. And here's a man that we've seen a lot of in the last almost 3 weeks, and he manages a smile. So Fabio Aru accepts the plaudits of the crowd and heads out for 20.6 kilometres. I think for him, Sean, surely it'll be all about trying to conserve as much energy, because he has big work to do for Nibali in the mountains tomorrow and on Saturday.
Yes, and he looks very relaxed there. We can see him just coming onto the starting ramp at the very last moment, 10 seconds before he's off. A good smile before he rolls off, and he's certainly not in the time trial mode. You know, the concentration is not there. He's just going to ride up this one, and more important days to come, the following days in the mountains, to conserve the race leader's jersey, to do the work for Nibali and the Astana team. That's what he's thinking of more of at this moment.
It's interesting, the aforementioned Michael Hutchinson, he's at Dr. Hutch on Twitter. He reckons each kilo on the bike over this course is actually only an average cost of about 4 watts. So he's expecting to see more time trial rigs for the GC guys laid on. Tom Danielson is pushing on, so he has ambition in this test, and he's gone for a road bike. But Michael Hutchinson thinks that the aerodynamic penalty that you would have in that little downhill and flat section in the middle of this time trial, and of course the flat run to the bottom of the hill, which is 2 kilometres long, well, it isn't worth the cost of using a road bike. It isn't worth the weight advantage. Obviously there's not much between it in terms of the choice that's made. Cataldo too has gone for the road bike. Bradley Wiggins, plenty of people asking how he would have done. Well, he had to make it here in order to be able to perform, but I think it probably would have been the kind of time trial that he would have liked, especially bearing in mind how he performed in Col d'Ez in Paris-Nice last year. Yes. It's a similar sort of time trial, isn't it?
Yes, definitely. I think you know, this time trial is for a real strong rider, and you know, the one who can get into that position and just sit there and really power up this climb, and Bradley Wiggins can do that. We've seen him in Paris-Nice last year on the Col d'Ez, and pretty similar style of hill.
Eris Kopecky doesn't feel the need to use time trial bars. So this is something just to be endured for him. Does every rider have a team car following them during the TT? Yes, yeah, it's a car for every rider. And what a Giro d'Italia the Movistar team are having. 4 stage wins, and the pink jersey, of course, worn by Benyat Inchausti during the Stage 8 time trial. It turned out to be a great time trial for Inchausti. It's a little bit disappointing. Not a specialist in a flat time trial. He might go a bit better in this one. He finished 41st on that occasion, lost 4 minutes to Alex Dowsett. Of the general classification contenders, At the time, Bradley Wiggins, of course, was the best of those in second. Tanel Kangert managed to edge his team leader, Vincenzo Nibali, by 7 seconds. Cadel Evans was 18 seconds behind Vincenzo Nibali. Scarponi was back in 10th position, 53 seconds behind Dowsett, and 32 seconds behind Vincenzo Nibali. Rigoberto Urán 12th on that occasion, 1:48 down on the stage winner. Niemiec managed 16th place, lost 2:13 to the stage winner. Sant'Ambrosio 2:56. So plenty of separation between the riders, and that was a flat rolling time trial. It did finish with a ramp up, and the big times set on that final ramp were produced by Bradley Wiggins, Nibali and Cadel Evans. Super final split on that occasion by Cadel Evans. 3 time trials in total with the team time trial that came on day 2. Robinson Chalapud definitely not in his comfort zone here. One of a long line of super talented Colombian climbers, but despite the fact that this one goes uphill, he's not really in his specialist territory. Yeah, 75 kilometres of individual time trialling in this year's Giro d'Italia. Last year it was about 37 kilometres. There was a short prologue and then a relatively short, I think it was a 20-kilometre flat time trial to conclude the race. So very, very different sort of course presented for the riders this year. And not the expected encounter for Bradley Wiggins. The expected opportunity for him to copper fasten his jersey, as many believed it would be at the beginning of the race. Unfortunately, illness has put pay to his chances of recording another Grand Tour success. Well, Tom Doak in Australia asks, who is the better time trial rider, Cadel Evans or Vincenzo Nibali? I'm cheering on Cadel here in Australia. Well, I suppose even 6 months ago you would have said Cadel Evans, but Vincenzo Nibali has clearly worked very hard at his time trialling over the winter on a flat road. It's improved immeasurably, and when it comes to going uphill, well, he would never have traded a whole lot of time to Cadel Evans either way. And Nibali has spoken in advance of this time trial, Sean, about perhaps gaining as much as 30 or 40 seconds. So he's thrown down the gauntlet and believes that it's not just a case of defending his Maglia Rosa, but he believes that he can extend his lead today. Well, of course, quite bullish talk, wasn't it?
Yes. Well, in time trialing, it's difficult, to say how much you can take out of the other general classification contenders. But Nibali, he's been very impressive in this race, and Cadel Evans also. He hasn't had any difficult days at all. Both of them have got through the race without any mechanical problems. So it's going to be interesting today to see who's going to win the battle. Of course, Nibali, to win the time trial would be a real plus for him, because as race leader, if you win the time trial, well, then you prove. If he goes on to win the race on Sunday, that you were the strongest one, and to win the time trial is always something that the overall winner like to do. But Cadel Evans has, he is a big battle here, because the general classification is still all to play for. So I'm not sure there will be big advantages or big time gains by Nibali. Difficult to see when you consider the race between the two of them over the last 2.5 weeks. I don't think there'll be any more than 10-15 seconds between either one. Which one is going to be the best? Difficult to call.
Dario Cataldo is pushing hard out there. No luck for Alex Dowsett. He's finished well down of the runners that have come in to this point. It probably wouldn't have been the perfect opportunity for him, really. Despite winning the Stage 8 time trial, he wouldn't really be suited to the mountain roads, and any chance he had of recording a decent time were nullified when he started on his time trial bike, but he had to change to his road bike after he suffered gear problems. So no luck for Dowsett, but it's been a very successful Giro d'Italia, and for him now he'll focus and concentrate on the main job for him, which is getting through those next 2 big mountain stages. And as I said, there's all sorts of talk that they may have to change the route of those 2 stages. There's monstrous climbs to be faced in tomorrow's stage to Val Martello, the Gavia and the Stelvio. And at the moment, the forecast for the Stelvio, some people are saying that it's at minus 20 degrees centigrade is the forecast for the Stelvio. So, and anything over 1,500 meters, they're going to encounter lots and lots of snow. So needless to say, the organisers are monitoring that. Here comes Navardauskis, suffering greatly in amongst a group of riders. Now the superstar of the last few days of Giro d'Italia, Giovanni Visconti. Wait for the cheer for this man. Victory on the Galibier, victory again yesterday into Vicenza. The man from Movistar giving Campagnola the perfect present with his glorious solo success. Superb late attack. And Giovanni Visconti has gone for the road bike with aero bar extensions. And Kopecky is within the last couple of 100 meters, so we're going to have a change in order here, because Kopecky is going to set the best time, but Navardauskis is right with him. So changes coming to the finishing order. Will he make it in time? Eros Kopecky just edges out Steve Cummings' time and goes to the top of the timesheets. So Eros Kopecky takes the best time from Stephen Cummings. Meanwhile, his teammate Giovanni Visconti is out on the course and is elected to take a gel with him. It's just 40-odd minutes, 45 minutes plus of time trialing effort. There was, I just got a tweet in a few moments ago, someone asking why there wasn't a feed zone in the time trial. When you sort of think in this one, if you need to eat, then you're probably going to be well outside the time limit. But clearly Visconti feels the need to take a gel at some stage, perhaps towards the back end of this. Well, he's ready to make a big effort and ready, of course, to begin his recovery for tomorrow's efforts as well. Make sure that he keeps the food stores topped up. So great effort by Eros Kopecky. His fellow countryman Dario Cataldo is out there and pushing hard. At the moment, so far, it looks like it's a very solid time being set by him indeed. Cataldo, of course, suffered early in this race. He suffered with the illness that Bradley Wiggins got. It spread like wildfire through the team, and that team do absolutely everything they possibly can to try and separate their riders from any sort of colds or illnesses or bugs. They sweep hotel rooms before they get to them and make sure that everything's as clean as it possibly could. But of course, when the riders are sharing a bus with air conditioning, etc., and working their way to the hotels, well, it's very, very difficult to prevent riders with their muchly battered immune systems as a result of the exertions that they make. It makes them very, very vulnerable to all sorts of colds and illnesses and bugs. And Cataldo managed to recover from his illness, but they caught Bradley Wiggins out at the worst possible time. And unfortunately, he's had to go home. Cataldo races on, though, and potentially on for a good stage result today.
And of course, there is the classification, team classification, and that's all to ride for at the moment. And Movistar are one of the teams who are not too far off in that classification. They are in fourth place overall at just over 5 minutes. Sky are still leading with Astana in second place at 4:27. So I think we're seeing part of the battle here from the riders that are capable of riding a good times, like Kopecky from Movistar, Cataldo from Sky. They are the ones who are have to put in a good time here to get the best 3 men of the team, and for that reason I think Capecchi is after pushing on big time and putting in a very good fast time. Normally we might not see him doing that, but I think team orders, that's the reason. There's a number of riders, and it's not only the 3 riders that you think are the best time trials. You always have to have a reserve rider who we will see putting in a time, and just in case the third man we talk about, or they talk about the team, is not performing well, you just play a 4th man as well, and you expect 4 riders. If you have somebody up the general classification, well then automatically you have one in there, but then you have to look down the list and see who are your best men and tell them, look guys, you have to do a big ride in this time trial to get the team classification, gain time or hold on to it, whichever the case may be for the team.
So Super Mario's in town. He's been hanging around the Giro for the last couple of days and smiling and waving to the crowd, accepting their cheers. Hasn't been answering any Orca questions though that might have been put to him.
What's he doing here? It's not his style of stage.
No, he definitely wouldn't have liked the time trials, no. He's supporting the Vinnie Fantini's ride Cipollini bikes, I think, don't they? So he's been giving them a bit of a cheer. And Cataldo is in a world of pain at the moment. He's well up the block. He's on the inside chainring. It looks like from that helicopter shot you could be kidded into thinking that it's a flat road, but that gear gives you an indication that it's a very, very steep gradient indeed for these riders. And Cataldo is pushing on in this 20-kilometre time trial. Let's see how he gets on after these. Stage 18 of the Giro d'Italia, from Mori to Bolsa. It's the individual time trial stage. Coming ahead of 2 big monster mountain stages. It's 3 absolutely key critical days for the general classification contenders. Some of the lesser lights pressing on. Serge Pauls clearly still feeling strong after 3 hard weeks in Italy. And he's chasing the best time set by Eros Kopecky. He has recently usurped Stephen Cummings at the top of the time standings. 46.55 is the target. Serge Pauls, of course, is not going to manage to get close to that. He's well outside it, but challenging the 3rd position of Tobias Ludvigsen. Boaro sitting in 4th place at the moment, and Pauls manages to edge into a 3rd position behind Stephen Cummings, behind Eros Kopecky, and ahead of Manuele Boaro, and just ahead of Boaro is Tobias Ludvigsen. So good effort by Serge Pauls of Amiga Pharma Quickstep. And here's a man who could do a ride today, perhaps. Sean Stefano Pirazzi leading the mountains classification standings. He's been in everything in the last couple of weeks. He's been up the road, left, right and centre. Cipollini bikes ridden by Bardiani Valvoli, of course. And Stefano Pirazzi is, well, he's given us great entertainment. He's worked hard for this jersey. He attacked at every available opportunity. He hasn't missed a trick. And whether he has what it takes for an individual time trial up a hill, well, remains to be seen.
Well, he's been impressive in this race. We've seen him being out in the breakaway so much, and he's going to normally win the mountain classification outright. He's in a really strong position at the moment, so if he can continue anything like he's been riding and pick up a few more points and stay upright, and not get into any difficult situation, get into a caught up in crashes, well then he should go on and win this, because he's looking still real strong. In the last days we've seen him there, very impressive, into the 3rd week of the race, and I'm not sure if he's going to really try today. But you never know with Pirazzi, but it looks like that the way he's climbing at the moment, he seems to be comfortable enough there just working away at it, so does it look like he's really going for a top place on the stage as he catches the yellow jersey.
Just about, didn't he? Yeah. Stefano Pirazzi manages to, in his mountains jersey, manages to overhaul the leader of the Tour de France. How did he get in there? Well, these roads were closed. Great to see the fans out on the course. That won't have been too much of a difficulty for Pirazzi, but you can be sure it'll be an issue closer to the finish line. Damiano Caruso of the Cannondale squad. Now, next off the starting ramp in the Mori Velodrome, recently renovated and recreated. Mori playing host to a Giro stage for the first time. Of course, the Polsa has played host to the Giro in the past. Eddie Merckx took the Maglia Rosa here in 1970. It was an important stage for him too, because he stayed in the Maglia Rosa through to the end of that year's race. Just edged out his teammate, his fellow countryman Van den Bosch on that occasion. And Zilioli was within a minute of Eddie Merckx, so that was probably as close as most people used to get in those days, but still very important stage win for him, for the Cannibal. So Cataldo pushes on. Now in the closing stages, 46.55 is the benchmark time of his fellow countryman from the Movistar team, Eros Kopecky. That's the time he's chasing. Journeyman asks, why does the helicopter only seem to follow Italian riders? Well, there are lots of Italian riders there. He is the Italian national time trial champion, and you can be sure they'll follow the GC guys as we get further down the order. Remember, running in reverse order of general classification, so the superstars come a lot later in the order. Trevor McGrath's asking if there are any news or changes to the reroute of tomorrow's stage. No word yet, Trevor. It's still waiting on that. Weather forecast is biblical, but organisers are keeping their counsel on that one and will let us know if there are. One has to hope that there aren't any changes, because the route that they've set is a difficult one, and if Vincenzo Nibali has any little faltering moment at all, then he'll be found out on those two stages. They're absolute doozies. Fabio Felline made the front group yesterday. Didn't quite have what it took at the end, but good performance nonetheless for the Androni man. Cataldo set the new best time at the first intermediate time check. His split time 21:24 was well, fully 43 seconds faster than Serge Powell's was at that time. Powell's of course faded though in the second half of this test, so that is the point of time trialing. It's about measuring your effort. Rory McGrath's asking a question that a lot of people are asking. Are there time bonuses, red jersey points, etc. available for today's time trial? No time bonuses, but there are red jersey points on offer. They're the same as every other stage. 25 points for first place, 25 for second, and so on. So now Pirazzi making his way clear as we get a sight once more of Dario Cataldo. Cataldo, 28 years of age. This is his first season with Sky. He was with the Amiga Pharma Quick Step organisation for the previous 4 years, and Liquigas for a season before that. Taking the stage of the Vuelta a España. Last year, and chasing that time of Eros Kopecky, and I would venture to suggest he's going to manage it. He's inside the final kilometre. He's got almost 3 minutes in hand. And Dario Cataldo, has 3 minutes to make it to the line to usurp Iris Kopecky and edge him out.
Yes, he's certainly going to, top the stage leaderboard for the moment. He's, after putting in a real good time trial, and we can see that he's the time trial champion of Italy. He's a good all-rounder. He can, get up the climbs very well. Not a super climber, but as this course is a super strongman's course, it definitely suits Cataldo, and he will take the leaderboard for the moment. But it will be a good indication of what times will be coming in later. I think Cataldo's time will be a one to stay up there for quite a while.
It is the great imponderable, isn't it? Why are some riders who are able to, find extraordinary depths of physical ability in a road race not necessarily always able to do it in a time trial?
Well, of course, in a road race, in the final stages, that's where we see the difficulties for riders to stay in the main group. When you get to the end of a stage, you've got a hill to climb and it goes really fast, and the sudden accelerations as well. You don't have that in time trialing. You start off and you ride at a very strong, steady pace, and you're the one who is in control there. You know how much you can give it on certain sections, and then if it is a little bit easier, you can give it that bit more. So that's the reason the time trial guys, they can do that, and non-specialist climbers, they can do a really good time trial. But on this sort of parkour, it's a strongman's course. It's not, the percentage is not great. So the likes of Cataldo, who can get up the hills quite well, when he is in good shape, he can stay a long time in the main bunch and stay with the big favourites for a long time in the big mountains. Except on the last mountaintop finish, sometimes he gets into a bit of difficulty.
So Dario Cataldo to the line, and well inside the time of Iris Kopecky. He goes to the top of the time sheets, 46 minutes and 10 seconds, and it's almost a full minute clear of the third fastest man. So that is an interesting target for the GC men, and you can tell just what an effort he's made. And that could well be an indication of the sort of time trial setup that Rigoberto Urán has much later in the GC order. Tri-bar extensions on a road bike. Electronic setup as well. Yuri Trofimov of the Katusha squad. Trofimov sitting 16th overall, 9 minutes and 2 seconds in arrears.
Yuri Trofimov, Katusha.
And Trofimov heads off with the not the road helmet really, but I suppose the lack of venting means it's closer to a time trial one. So Giovanni Visconti out on the road. Winner of 2 stages already in Giro d'Italia, but this would be an unlikely one for him. Just trying to get through it, and what would he have for us, I wonder, in the remaining mountain stages? Everything is a bonus for him at this point. And I wouldn't be at all surprised to see him at least try to get in the break tomorrow or the next day. Clearly he's on absolutely brilliant form. Visconti talked again yesterday of all the difficulties that he encountered last year after retiring from the Giro d'Italia. Suffered all sorts of moments of depression and anxiety and worry. And then he was given that 3-month ban for his prior involvement with Dr. Michele Ferrari, and he addressed that as well in yesterday's press conference. He said that his stage win on the Galibier represented a new start for him to his career. Able to put all those difficult moments behind him. Now the motorbike's going to ride into the crowd. Visconti, though, finds a route around them. Ben Atkins says time trialling is the one thing that Marianne Vos can't seem to do. She says that part of it is that there's no game to play against the others, so she needs the stimulation of the other riders around her and how she responds. So it's an interesting observation. Marianne Vos, the absolute and utter queen of women's road racing, and has been a star on the track, and now is becoming a star in mountain bikes. And there really doesn't seem to be anything she can't do, except, as Ben points out, time trialling. All things being relative, of course. So Tom Danielson racing to the line. It's going to be a good time. He's not going to trouble Cataldo, but he edges inside Eros Kopecki's time, so goes to second on the time standings, 40 seconds behind Cataldo. It's still a very, very impressive performance by Tom Danielson. 60th overall in the race at the moment, and now second in the stage 18 time trial. Steph Clement just about makes it in ahead of the best time set to that point by Dario Cataldo. So Steph Clement goes to the top of the timesheets with 46 minutes and 5 seconds. And the times are tumbling fast. Steph Clement 46.05, Tom Danielson third, Eros Kopecki 5 seconds behind him. Steve Cummings slips to fifth. Sat in the hot seat for a while, but Steve Cummings nonetheless will be satisfied with his day's work. So Duarte and Vladimir Karpets sharing the same piece of tarmac.